I got home early and found my sister wearing my wedding dress. The wedding of my dreams was right there in front of me, everything falling into place. And then, just like that, it all came crashing down. I'd spent months planning my wedding to Nick. He was perfect. We were perfect. And I was so sure that everything would be perfect. I couldn't wait to wear my dream dress one I'd picked out so long ago. I had imagined it all. The ceremony, the day, the promises we'd make, and of course, the dress. It was the centerpiece of my perfect wedding. The one thing I'd poured my heart into choosing. The day was supposed to be mine. And nothing, not a single thing, was going to ruin that. Or at least, that's what I thought. I had a million things on my mind when I decided to come home early that day. I wanted to get a little rest before the chaos began again. I was running errands, making sure everything was in place, but I just felt like something was off. The world felt heavier somehow. So I made my way back home, just hoping for a quiet moment. But when I walked through the door, I didn't find the peace I expected. No. What I found made my stomach drop. My heart stopped. There she was, Emily, my younger sister, standing in front of the mirror. And she wasn't just standing there casually. She was wearing my wedding dress. The one I had carefully chosen. The one I had been planning for. The dress that was meant for me. Not for her. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I just stood there, watching her twirl in it like it was hers. Like she had every right to it. I thought we were close. I thought she would never do something like this. But in that moment, all my trust in her, in everything I thought I knew, crumbled. She caught my eye in the mirror and smiled like it was no big deal. I felt like I was drowning. I thought it would look better on me, she said, shrugging casually. It's just a dress, Tara. Just a dress. It was never just a dress. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I couldn't find my voice. I wanted to scream, to ask her how she could do this to me. But I just stood there, frozen in the doorway. I tried to collect myself, but all I could think was, how? How could she do this? And why didn't I see this coming? I felt like I was losing everything in that moment. The wedding I had worked so hard for, the trust I thought I had with Emily, the future I had planned. And it wasn't just about the dress. It was about everything else. The unspoken jealousy, the hidden resentment, the things we never talked about but always lived with. I didn't know if I could fix it, and I didn't know if I wanted to. I've spent most of my life being the older sister. It's like an identity I never questioned. I've always been the responsible one, the one who got things done, who kept everything together. Emily, on the other hand, was always a little more carefree, always flying under the radar, always. The one who wasn't quite as serious as I was. We were close once. When we were younger, we shared everything. Our room, our friends, our secrets. But the older we got, the more I began to realize how much I overshadowed her. I didn't mean to, but I did. It was easy for me to be the one in the spotlight. And I think that's where the problem started. Emily was always the quieter one. She never demanded attention like I did. I remember when we were kids, and I would get the good grades, and she would get frustrated. Not because she didn't try, but because it felt like she was always second. She was always the one in the background, even if she had more to offer than I ever gave her credit for. And that's when I started to see how much she needed me. Not to fix things for her, but just to see her. Really see her. I was so focused on my own life that I didn't realize how much she was hurting, how much she felt invisible. When Nick and I got engaged, everything changed. I thought it was going to bring us closer together. I thought Emily would be happy for me. But instead, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Her quiet withdrawal. She started disappearing when we'd talk about the wedding. She wouldn't even talk about the dress. The dress that I thought was so perfect, so carefully chosen. But now I see it wasn't just about the dress. It was about how everything in my life, my wedding, my engagement, was overshadowing hers. I never noticed. I should have seen the signs. I should have known that Emily wasn't just silently watching me make my dreams come true. She was silently suffering. She needed validation. She needed to be seen. And I didn't give her that. I remember when she told me that she was going to just come along with whatever I planned for my wedding. But it didn't sit right. She was too quiet about it. She wasn't the Emily I remembered. She was holding something back, something I didn't want to face. Now, looking back, I realized that the distance between us had been growing for years. But I couldn't see it because I was too busy with my own life, my perfect future. The wedding, the dress, it wasn't just mine anymore. It had become something else entirely, something Emily wanted for herself. I thought I could make everything perfect, but I failed to make her feel seen. And it was too late when I realized how deep the wound went. When Emily turned to face me, still in my dress, something snapped inside of me. I felt this overwhelming flood of emotions, and I didn't know where to begin. Anger, hurt, confusion, it all mixed together. I had to ask. I had to understand how we got here. Why, Emily? Why would you do this? The words came out harsher than I intended, but I couldn't hold them back. She looked at me, almost surprised by my reaction. It's just a dress, Tara. Why are you making this such a big deal? Just a dress. That was the moment I realized she didn't get it. She didn't understand what this meant to me, to us. She was standing there, in the one thing I had poured my heart into, and she was acting like it was just some object she could borrow, some piece of clothing to play dress up in, and then she said something that cut through the anger. I never got to be the one who was perfect. You always got everything. The attention, the love, the approval. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about the dress. This was about everything. All the years of me not seeing her, not giving her the attention and validation she needed. I thought I was doing what was best for both of us, but I was blind. I was so caught up in my own dreams, my perfect future. I missed hers. You think I don't see that? I snapped, unable to hide the tears that were threatening to spill. You think I didn't notice you felt left out? But Emily wasn't done. You were always the perfect one, Tara. Everyone always looked at you. I was the one in the background, always second. Her voice wavered, and for a moment, I almost felt guilty. But then the truth hit me harder than any emotion I'd ever felt. This wasn't just about the dress. This wasn't just about her jealousy. Emily had been carrying around her own hurt, her own feelings of inadequacy, for years, and I had been too busy with my own life to notice. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. I've been seeing Jake. Jake, my ex. The one I had loved before I met Nick. The one I thought I'd gotten over. The one who had broken my heart. Are you serious? I whispered, unable to comprehend what she was saying. You've been seeing him behind my back? I never meant for it to happen, she said quickly, her voice shaking now. It just did, and I needed someone to see me, Tara, to care. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. My sister, the one person I thought I could trust above anyone else, had been hiding this from me. And Jake, he knew how much he meant to me, and he still chose her in that moment. I felt like I was losing everything. My sister, my ex, my fiancé who, as it turned out, had known about Emily and Jake. They had all kept secrets from me. I didn't know how I could face any of them again. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating, as the truth settled between us. Everything I thought I knew was unraveling. I turned to Emily, who was still standing there, looking guilty but somehow distant. How long, Emily? How long has this been going on? I asked, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. She hesitated for a second. Months, she said quietly. It just happened. I never meant for you to find out this way. I never wanted to hurt you, but the hurt was already there. Deeper than I could have ever imagined. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister, the person who was supposed to be my rock, my biggest supporter, had been seeing Jake behind my back. And Nick, my fiancé, had known about it. He hadn't said anything. He just stood by while I was living in a lie I called Jake. I had to hear it from him. I couldn't let him get away with this. When he picked up, his voice sounded so calm, so apologetic. But it didn't change anything. I'm sorry, Tara, he said. I didn't want it to be like this. I never meant for you to find out. You think that makes it better? I whispered. You think saying sorry fixes what you did? What both of you did? But I didn't want his apology. I didn't want to hear him beg for forgiveness. Not anymore. All I wanted was to forget them. To forget everything. I hung up and turned to Emily, my heart shattering. You and Jake? You've been lying to me this whole time? Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't answer. I didn't know what to do next. I felt so broken, so lost. And that's when it hit me. I couldn't go through with the wedding. Not now. Not after everything. I couldn't marry Nick. I couldn't pretend everything was fine. I'm calling it off, I whispered, the words tasting bitter. I can't do this. Telling everyone the wedding was off was harder than anything I'd ever done. The disappointment in their voices, the anger, the confusion, it was like a flood that swallowed me whole. Some people didn't understand. Some of them called me selfish. Others said I was making a mistake, that I was overreacting. They didn't see what I saw. They didn't feel what I felt. I didn't want to explain. How could I? How could I tell them that I couldn't marry the man I was supposed to trust when everything had been built on lies? How could I stand in front of people, pretending that nothing was wrong when my whole world had just collapsed? I spent days in a fog, not knowing where I was or who I was. Emily kept trying to contact me, texts, calls, even showing up at my door, but I couldn't face her. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't even look at myself. I didn't know how to forgive her, or if I even could. Nick didn't understand either. He tried to reach me, to talk it through, but I couldn't. I couldn't listen to him. How could I? How could I look at him when he had known about everything and never told me? He stood by while I was hurt, while I was deceived, and he didn't say a word. Finally, I called him, and I said the words that had been building up for so long. It's over, Nick. I can't do this. He was quiet for a long time, and I could hear the hurt in his voice. Tara, please, just let me explain. I can't. I interrupted, my voice breaking. You've already explained everything. I just don't want to hear it anymore. It was over. There was no going back. I couldn't undo what had been done. The love I thought I had, the trust I thought I had built with him, gone, shattered into pieces. The pain was overwhelming. I had no idea what came next. I didn't know if I was making the right decision or if I was just running away from the truth. But all I knew in that moment was that I couldn't stay in a relationship where I felt betrayed, where I couldn't trust anyone. I stayed alone for a while, sitting with my feelings, trying to make sense of everything. I spent my days in silence, questioning myself, questioning everything. Emily sent me message after message. She apologized again and again, trying to explain, but I didn't know if I could ever forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But as the days went on, something shifted inside me. I started to realize that I needed to heal, that I couldn't keep holding on to this hurt, to this anger. I needed to let go, whether that meant forgiving her or not. I had to do it for myself, not for her. I spent the next few months rebuilding my life. Slowly, one piece at a time. I found solace in the small things, taking long walks by myself, rediscovering things that made me happy, finding pieces of me that I had lost in the chaos of everything. I went back to things I used to enjoy before the wedding took over everything. Painting, reading, sitting quietly with my thoughts, and through it all, I started to understand that it wasn't about Emily or Nick anymore. It was about me. I had to reclaim myself, my life, my trust. I didn't reach out to Emily right away, but after a few months, she called me again, and this time I answered. She apologized, and I could hear the sincerity in her voice, but I couldn't just pick up where we left off. Things had changed. She had hurt me in ways I never thought I'd feel, and the trust that was broken wasn't something that could be fixed overnight. We talked, and I listened. It was a hard conversation, and I wasn't sure if I would ever get back to where we once were, but I realized something. Forgiveness wasn't about her. It was about me. I had to decide if I could forgive her for my own peace, not because I owed her that. And as for Nick, well, that was harder. I thought about him a lot in the months that followed. The good memories, the ones where everything felt right, they were still there. But I couldn't forget the betrayal. I couldn't forget how everything had unraveled. In the end, I had to let go of the life I had planned with him. He wasn't the person I thought he was, and maybe I wasn't the person he thought I was either. We had both been lying to each other in our own ways. The hardest part was realizing that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who can hurt you the deepest. And you can't change that. You can't control what they do. All you can control is how you heal and how you move forward. There's a lot I've learned through all of this, more than I ever expected. It wasn't just about the betrayal, the wedding, or even the people involved. It was about how I see myself now, how I move forward, and how I can never let someone else's actions define my worth. The biggest lesson I learned was that trust is sacred, and when it's broken, it feels like everything is taken away from you. It's hard to rebuild, harder still to trust again. But you can't let that define you. You can't let the hurt hold you hostage forever. You have to forgive, not for them, but for you. You have to move on. I've learned that loyalty isn't something you can demand. It's something that should be earned. No one owes you loyalty if you haven't been honest with them, and no one is obligated to stay when you've broken their trust. People make mistakes, and sometimes they're unforgivable, but you have to decide if you're going to let that destroy you or if you're going to use it as a lesson. I've learned that sometimes you have to walk away even if it hurts. Even if you don't have all the answers. Even if you're scared of being alone. Sometimes the hardest decision is the one that saves you. And that's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you do have to trust yourself. If you've ever been through something like this, betrayed by someone you loved or hurt by those you trusted, I want you to know this. You're not alone. It feels like the world is falling apart in the moment, but it will get better. You will heal. You will find peace again, and you will learn to trust yourself. The most important lesson I've learned through all of this is that you can't depend on others to make you happy. You can't rely on others to define who you are. Happiness comes from within, and sometimes you need to take a step back to find it. If you're going through something similar, I want you to remember this. You're stronger than you think. Trust yourself, even when everyone else betrays you. Don't let anyone make you feel less than. And most importantly, never forget that you're worthy of love, trust, and respect. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been through something like this, please share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to hear how you healed, how you moved on. Don't forget to subscribe for more real stories and raw truths. You're not alone.